one to overreact to preseason in any sport, but in particular the NFL. And I don't think this is a overreaction just to what we saw this weekend.
Okay.
But I really believe the Giants are legitimate Super Bowl contenders. I'm not going to say they're favorites to go out there and win it. You've heard me talk about them winning the division in recent weeks. Man, all the pieces are in place. I believe in the coaching. Dable, the coordinators in place with Kafka, with Martindale. The pieces they brought in, I think, are brilliant moves. Trading for Waller, Hyatt, Campbell, all this for Daniel Jones. I could see Jones taking a next step. Saquon Barkley is back. I like the defense. They bring in Bobby O to be a linebacker here. The young corners. The NFC, the landscape of the NFC is not very strong. I know their own division, probably the toughest challenge with the Cowboys and Eagles. I think the Giants are legit Super Bowl contenders.
I'm in a tough spot here because I like the Giants. I do. I like the Giants coming into the season. I don't share that enthusiasm. And the only reason I don't share that is there's too many variables for me still at this point. You mentioned one with Jones. Not if Daniel Jones is good. We know he's good. Like, what's the next level? Don't know. And there's a lot of kids. There's a lot of kids that could be a good thing, ultimately, that the Giants are relying on to, help bridge the gap to this Super Bowl possibility that you bring up. I hate to straddle the fence, and I don't think that I am. I like the Giants. I do. Super Bowl?
Like you go over their win total, right?
They won one divisional game last season. What?
I understand it. They got to take big strides this year, but I think that they can. Instead, my initial reaction coming into the offseason, going into the year, hey, look, Giant fans, brace yourselves because you exceeded all expectations getting to the divisional round in year one with a new coaching staff, overhaul. The team was garbage for so long. Like, chances are maybe you win more games, but you're not going to go as far. And then I thought about it. I love all the improvements that they made. I believe in the coach more than or as much as any other coach in a league, right? So I love the coaching staff.
Yep.
The quarterback took tremendous strides last year, and now they got the weapons around him. I do believe they could take another step. Oh, and by the way, the NFC stinks. Like the Niners and Eagles, that's it. I think the Giants have closed the gap on the Eagles. And all it takes, I don't think the Cowboys are a threat. They could say on paper they're going to be good. Dak proved to me what he is last year. He was awful. I don't think Dak is going to be any good. So almost as a default, like the Giants, to me, have as good a chance as anybody in the NFC to go to the Super Bowl. Again, I know saying the Giants are going to win a Super Bowl sounds crazy at this point, and I'm not saying that, but they are legit contenders in the NFC.
I think the one thing, and I understand why a lot of people do, and I've done it as well, when you had that quick evaluation, AFC versus NFC, right? You roll through the quarterbacks in the AFC, and the names are, they just jump off the page, which obviously affects the Jets. And in doing that, we kind of gloss, and you just did it, kind of gloss over the strength of the NFC. But you very well might have the two best teams in football in the NFC, the Eagles and the Niners.
But who's the Niners quarterback?
Well, I think it's going to be Purdy.
And I love the Niners, too. Don't get me wrong. Well coached. I believe in their defense. They could run the football, Debo Samuel, all those different things. I don't like any of their quarterbacks. Not one.
Well,
they got three guys. None of them are any good.
Well, Purdy's pretty good. He's not good.
So wait, now we're going to trust Purdy instead of Daniel Jones? We ripped Daniel Jones forever. We saw him for 4 years. I was like, oh, this guy can't play. And now it's Brock Purdy because he had a couple of good months is like this.
No, but think about that. The trust factor for Jones is largely based off of one really good year last year and snippets from a solid rookie year.
Correct.
Okay. And a lot of things that left us scratching our heads. Granted, things that maybe Jones couldn't control. Coaching, personnel.
Right.
I like
different
Jones. I do.
Different coordinators.
I do.
Well, I'm just saying, and I'm not saying you don't like Jones, but like we put, not you, but everybody's like, oh, Brock Purdy. Yeah, well, what did he do exactly?
Well, he won a lot of games.
I know, but for how long? 2 months? What was it? And we're going to now all of a sudden put him as like, oh, well, Brock Purdy. I look at the Niners and I say, they don't have a quarterback. They need to prove to me that they have a quarterback. They had three guys. They drafted Trey Lance for a reason.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah.
So who's their quarterback exactly? And I'm just trying to poke holes a little bit in the NFC. Nobody in the NFC South. The North, okay, what's Jordan Love going to be?
First of all, look out for Detroit, who smacked the Giants last year.
I understand.
And are only getting better. Detroit's a playoff team.
See, I don't believe in Detroit as much as you do.
I absolutely do.
I like Campbell, but I don't like him as much as I like Dable. And Jared Goff, I can't believe I'm saying it. I'd take Jones over the Niners quarterback situation and Jared Goff and anybody in the NFC South. So to me, and I'm not saying the Niners aren't better overall than the Giants.
Yeah, no, I got
that's
you.
one of the teams.
I got you.
Nobody else in the West.
Yeah.
And then you look at the East. All right, Eagles are clearly the premier team, but they lost some players too. Mm-hmm. They also lost two coordinators, the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator, which happens when you have a good team. That's going to be a little bit of a learning curve right there. Them in Dallas, and I don't think Dallas is that good. McCarthy, new offensive coordinator. Dak, Point is, and look, the odds are what they are for a reason, but I think you can make a case, as I'm doing here, for the Giants to go.
Listen, it worries me a little bit, though. Now, I want to give you this chance. I know we want to get these phones, get these rocking. Mm-hmm. Giant fans probably enjoying this. I get it. There's a lot to like. Listen, when I start to evaluate a team, I look at the three aspects, the trio. Do I like the general manager? Do I like the head coach? Do I like the quarterback?
Boom.
Those three components for the New York Giants are all very favorable. But I fear this. As you ran through a little bit more thoroughly, like the depth or lack thereof for you of the NFC, and correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like you're leaning a little bit too much on what the NFC doesn't have rather than illuminating what the Giants do have. Like, that worries me. If we're going to sit here and say, well, the Packers don't have this, and the Lions aren't this, and the Niners don't have that, and this team does, that's fine. And that might lead up to a very interesting NFC. But I would be more convicted if you're sitting here saying Daniel Jones is absolutely dropping 30 touchdowns. The Giants' offensive line is absolutely going to morph into a top 10 unit in football. This defense is going to, be top 10. Like, is it more about the NFC or more about the Giants for you?
I think it's a combination. Let's start with the NFC because we touched on that. To me, there are only two teams that I would look at that I would put on a different level going into the year based off of last year than the Giants. Would you agree with that?
I like Detroit better than you do.
Okay, so you're going to put three teams on a different level.
And I'd have to look at it like I'm kind of with you on Dallas. I was up for him a year ago. I'm not feeling it this year. I wouldn't rule out the Saints. That Saints defense is phenomenal.
But a different level than the Giants?
Yeah, defensively, yes. Like, there are teams. Seattle
Seattle
beat the Giants last year.
Yeah, again, these interesting you're making these points. I don't look at those teams. I mean, Geno Smith.
He beat the Giants last year.
I get it, but the Giants are going to be better this year. So that's the second part of it, where I firmly believe you're going to see a different Daniel Jones with legit weapons. Like, dude.
Okay. How different?
From when they went last year, they have now three significantly better options. Waller is going to be a top receiver.
Is he going to play 17 weeks? He's always hurt.
Okay, and they still have other guys that could stretch the field, guys in the slot. Hyatt, Campbell, these are legit weapons. Barkley back. So, last year's offense would be good enough to get to the divisional round, which it did. Mm-hmm. Now you're throwing significant weapons on top of it, and I think an underrated part of the Giants equation, and we could talk about the offensive line, which I do. I worry a little bit about center, but I'll trust Dable that he knows what he's doing with the coaches. I think their defense is going to be better.
It's definitely going to be better.
Bobby Owen's a big factor.
The Giants.
We love Sexy Dexy in the middle there. Yeah. You talk about the young corners. I mean, with Wink Martindale doing the job coaching BT, I think they're getting overlooked because of coming out of nowhere last year. Mm-hmm. Maybe people not believing that it's legitimate, and because of the division that they're in. If they were in the South, if they were in the North, or even the West, I think we'd be talking about realistic.
But if the Yankees were playing with the Twins and the Guardians, the Yankees season would be over. Right. What do you mean if they were in this division? They're not.
I'm saying I think that they get looked at less because of the division they're in, because everybody just automatically hands it over to Philly, which I'm not doing, by the way.
Oh, I am. Philly's better. Philly's so much better. Philly's better. Let me ask you this, because there's two ways to interpret this, right? And we see it differently, which is interesting. Last year, the win against Minnesota, and we know what happened as a result. Minnesota's defense, coaching staff. What happened in Minnesota and how the Giants looked so amazing offensively. And I'm not trying to minimize the achievement of a road playoff win.
No, they ran the football with Daniel Jones. He was making up for areas of deficiency, clearly.
Yeah, but when you win a road playoff game, I'm not here to tap the enthusiasm. Like, that's a big thing in the NFL. So I'm not trying to minimize that game. But Minnesota's defense was weak. So what's more representative of, or who is more representative of the Giants? The team that rolled into Minnesota and looked like they were an offensive juggernaut and did something that is absolutely impressive and deserves respect, or the next game when they got steamrolled and looked like a JV team against Philly? Who is more representative of the Giants?
That's a good question.
Because that's the question that probably fuels the direction of this debate.
Put it this way.
Answer-wise.
I think the Giants have closed the gap on Philadelphia. I don't take Minnesota seriously, but they still did go on the road and won a playoff game. It's not easy to do, regardless of the defense there.
Yep.
The Giants are a different team. They are going to be throwing the football a lot more, where they were relying heavily on Barkley and Daniel Jones running the football. Now maybe they could use Jones running the football out of, a luxury as opposed to a necessity. Throwing the football, they're going to be better. Defensively, they're going to be better. I think the gap has been closed, so it's probably somewhere in between. I'll tell you, looking out, and we'll get to the calls here in a second, 877-337-6666. Right out of the gate, first 4 weeks, we will find out about this team. You mentioned a team like the Seahawks. I think the Giants are better. And they got the Seahawks on a Monday night at home. That's a game the Giants have to win here.
Yep.
No more and even a game against the Niners. Look, last year, too, the Giants were nothing but competitive every week, it seemed. Every week, we're waiting for them the shoe to fall off, for them to get blown out. And it never happened. The Green Bay game.
The Philly game got a little lopsided. But you're right. By the way, but they weren't able to really blow out the bad teams either. Like the Texans was a couple of points in the late in the third quarter. That was at MetLife. I get it. This is a very tough team to read big picture. We both like them. You definitely like them more than me.
Yeah, and I just don't think we should put any limitations on what they could do here. It sounds crazy going into the year. We would have said the same thing last year. They got to within 2 games of the Super Bowl. The results may vary, but this team is a legitimate Super Bowl contending team. 877-337-6666. Alex is calling from Manhattan. What's up, Alex?
Hey, my guy. I have to thank you. It was like, first of all, I'm sorry. How you doing, BT, as well? I
What's
love
up,
you
buddy?
too. But I'm excited because it was like as if Sal was in my cousin's house in Long Island listening to my conversation. Because I was talking to my cousin and pointing out the same exact thing. Daniel Jones is going to be more confident. He has better weapons. Giants went to the playoffs last year, and they got extremely better by all accounts. And I'm ready to put that $100 to 48-1 odds. And I was going to ask you that, Sal, today, but before I called, you answer my question.
What's
so I
that?
have to call and say thank you.
That's to win the Super Bowl, 48-1?
To win the Super Bowl,
yeah,
48-1,
that's a little,
which is not bad.
That's a little nuts, Alex, and thank you for the call. I'm going to bet the Giants over for the year. I am going to bet the Giants to win the division. Maybe I'd take a flyer on the NFC odds. I'm not betting them to win the Super Bowl. First of all, I feel like come on.
Yeah, you're getting a little lucky when it comes to that.
Yeah.
But for $100 or 50, whatever the denomination is, if you really think that they've got a chance, slap it down.
Yeah, why not? Well, put it this way: you're going to get a good price on them because other people don't. Right? I'm telling you. In a wide open NFC where you look at, sometimes the way these things play out, BT, they have a shot. And let me tell you the number one reason why I believe in the Giants. It's stable. That's the number one reason. I know, we get caught up in who's managing, who's head coaching, in basketball, whatever. In the NFL, it makes a huge difference.
No question.
Brian Dable showed you that a year ago with basically the same roster that has been slopped for years with this Giants team. He took it to the divisional round in year 1.
You think Jones can be on the periphery of the MVP conversation?
I actually do.
Okay, because for that, and I wanted to see the consistency. I figured you'd say that.
Which is insane.
Well, is it though? What do you run for 8 touchdowns? If he's running for TDs and you win it again. Listen, if you win 13-14, he's not going to win it because I don't think he's going to throw for nearly 5,000 yards like the guy who probably will win it. But if the Giants are going to do what you think they could do, and it's a level higher than what I think they are capable of doing, he's going to have to be in the MVP conversation.
NFC ranked the quarterbacks.
Let's see.
We're not going to go through every
Hurts.
team.
Okay,
yeah, Hurts. Obviously, I give you Hurts.
I
think you putting Dak over Daniel Jones?
No, I Daniel Jones over Dak.
Okay.
I show him that respect.
Commanders,
Forget about Sam Howell. Forget about that.
Right. Goff.
I like Daniel Jones better than Goff.
Okay. Justin Fields.
I like Jones better than Fields.
Agreed.
But I do think that whenever Fields pops, and it might be this year, his pop could be more pronounced than Jones's highest pop.
Understood, but still right now you like Daniel Jones better, more polished.
Keep going.
Jordan Love or Cousins?
I'm going to go Jones.
Agreed. Derek Carr.
I'm gonna go Daniel Jones.
Agreed. Same thing.
Seems to have a little bit more of a winning trait, like a little something not quantifiable. Like Carr's got good numbers. He's a good player. I like Jones.
Desmond Ridder, no chance in Atlanta. Who is the Bucs quarterback? I don't even know.
Well, it's probably going to be Baker or what's the kid's name? Baker or Trask.
And then you got the rookie in Carolina, right?
Yep. Oh, he's going to get his brains.
Okay,
that
so
offensive
nobody.
line is
Geno
trash.
Smith or Daniel Jones?
It's close.
Okay,
it's maybe a push. It's
Kyler
close.
Murray, Matthew Stafford.
Forget about it. This team is the worst team in football.
And then the Niners, Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
I mean, think about what we just said.
I understand
Jones
that.
is the second best quarterback in the entire NFC.
Well, potentially. Now he's got to do it again. And he's got to do it with expectations of $40 million and a spotlight that's never been on him. I'm not saying he's not equipped to do it, but now he's got to do it.
I'm shocking myself here. Richie is calling from Queens. What's up, Richie?
Rich.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey, bud.
Yeah, I mean, we just answered the question. Like, they say that he's going to be a top 15, Sal and BT, but, okay, I think he's a top 10. And it's really tough to equate what he's going to be. But you mentioned, BT, the tough games that they lost that they just won. Well, they're going to have the big play guys to make those 7-point wins into 14-point wins.
That's potentially very true. Yep, good point. Keep going, Rich.
They're 30% better, 40% better offensively. And Sal, you mentioned they're going to have a stud, I think, at center. This kid Schmidt's going to be very good. They got very good tackles. And, the key is going to be their defense. Thibodeau and Alizari have got to step it up because the middle is good with Leonard and Dexter Lawrence.
Well, now they got a linebacker in Bobby O, who BT and I talked to last month. Was that last Monday? Yeah, last Monday, a week ago today. And thank you for the call, Richie. He's supposed to be very good. The Giants have not had a good linebacker in, it seems, forever.
Is Pierce the last? No, they had to have one after Pierce.
No, I think he was it.
Well, it's got to be one other. Yeah, point taken. Trust me, it's been a while.
What, Blake Martinez? I mean, these guys are all
he got hurt, and then he got buzzed.
Talking about impactful, difference-making linebacker.
Been a while.
I think you go back to Antonio Pierce, and this has been obviously a Giants calling card. Plus, I love the coordinator, Wink Martindale.
He's the best.
Young corners as well. It's not going to be the best defense, but I think it'll be better than people think. Rick is calling from Tampa. What's up, Rick?
Hey, Rick.
Oh, guys, hey, happy Monday to you guys. Listen, Sal, I agree with you 100% on this all the way. The Giants, first of all, BT, the representation of the Giants against the Eagles last year, they were down to their last string. They were just Barkley and Jones. That was it. They just ran out of steam. Of course, they get blown out. This year, they have so many more weapons. I'm telling you right now, Rookie of the Year will be Hyatt. I'm guaranteeing that. They have Waller, who stays healthy. He's going to be phenomenal. They went out there and showed in that little preseason game against a bad Carolina team. This is what we are this year, and that's without Barkley, without the threat of him coming out of the backfield. Defense has improved. They are going to win at least 11 games. Jones definitely top 10. And I tell you this, they are going to – it's all going to come down to that first game. And you know that, just like with your Jets against the Bills. If the Giants go out and prove against the Cowboys and rack up 30 points and win that game, watch out.
The problem I have, and thanks for the call, Rick, the problem I had, BT, you and I talked about this last week. First of all, I'm not overreacting to the preseason, although I do think it was encouraging what you saw from the starters.
Yeah, they look good.
Problem I have with the week one matchup, teams are still feeling themselves out here. Can you put that, let's say the Giants pound the Cowboys. Are we really going to put that much stock in week one?
No, we'll react to it. People will be pumped.
Yep.
They'll be further galvanized in the grand scheme. I don't want to say it means nothing because it's a huge divisional win, but I'm with you. Like the energy, positive or negative, to what we'll do with the Jets and the Bills and the Giants and Dallas, it's going to be over the top in every single direction, but there's 16 more games to go.
It is a division game, or both are divisional games, which do mean a little bit more, but there's going to be, because it is a big matchup, all the hype going in.
Huge.
It's going to skew the way people view each of those teams after just 1 week.
I agree.
I'm not putting that much stock in.
Agree.